What's going on, everyone? You're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to learn how to add and subtract fractions again, but this time using the lowest common multiple trick, so we never have to do any simplification at the end of our answer. This is a trick that will reduce the amount of work you need to do, and I guarantee it will actually make it a little bit easier. You've got to do some planning at the very start of the question, but once you've got that down, the amount of maths you have to do is way less. So we know that you can only add or subtract a fraction if the denominators are exactly the same. If you're not sure why, please check out my last video because it's got a really good visualization of why this is the case. But for us, all we need to know is we sometimes have to make equivalent fractions using multiplication in order to make the denominators the same, so we can start adding and subtracting them. The trick we learned last lesson was to multiply each fraction by the other denominator, making sure I use columns to multiply the entire fraction. So for this one, I got 3 over 8 plus 5 over 12. What I'd have to do is multiply the whole first fraction by 12 and multiply the whole second fraction by 8. Already I'm getting into some pretty big numbers, but we're going to see how to do this still using that first method. So if I multiply everything by 12, I'm left with 36 over 96. 8 times 12 is 96. That's already a hard multiplication. And then I've got 40 over 96 as well. That's great. My denominators are the same. And then when I add these together, I'm going to have 76 over 96. Finding the simplified fraction from here is actually really difficult. I don't know what the highest common factor is going to be. Because they're both even, I'm going to divide both of them by 2 and just see where that gets me. Dividing both by 2, I've got 38 over 48. Oh, these are still even, so I've got to simplify again. And this leaves me with 19 over 24. 19 over 24 doesn't have any common factors, so I think that this is the answer. You can see in this question, there is a lot of places where we could get this wrong. We're using big numbers, lots of simplifying in order to get our answer, and there's just a lot of maths happening. So if we've got a trick to reduce this amount of work, we could use that just to save us time. So what I'm going to do is use the denominators 8 and 12 and try to find a number that they both multiply to. 8 and 12 both multiplied to 24. 8 times 3 and 12 times 2. Because of this, instead of going all the way up to 96 and coming back down, I'm just going to go to the 24. That means that this whole first fraction, I've just got to multiply by 3, and the second fraction, I've got to multiply by 2. Already you can see we're using smaller numbers, so it should be quite a lot easier. When I multiply 3 over 8 by 3, I'm left with 9 over 24, and then that 5 over 12 becomes 10 over 24. Now, because my denominators are the same, I'm just left with 19 over 24. That was my answer from the last question, doing heaps and heaps and heaps of maths. And in this step, all we did was, I know my 2 times tables, I know my 3 times tables, happy days. So identifying that lowest common multiple, being like, 24 is in 8 and 12 times tables, that has saved us a huge amount of work. So even though it seems like a little bit harder at the very start, we're doing way less maths and getting the same results. So for this one, I've got 5 over 6 minus 2 over 9. Again, I could do the whole first fraction multiplied by 9 and the whole second fraction multiplied by 6, but that will leave me a lot of work. Instead, I could go, 6 and 9, they both can be multiplied to get to 18. 6 times 3 is 18 and 9 times 2 is 18. Using this knowledge, we can just use way easier numbers to get the answer and not have to simplify at the end. So because I'm multiplying the whole first fraction by 3, I've got 15 over 18, and then I'm multiplying the whole second fraction by 2, I've got 4 over 18. Now I've just got 15 minus 4, 11 over 18. That's my final answer. There's no common factors between these ones. If you do find the lowest common multiple, you will never have to simplify. If you have a common factor and then do some simplification, it just means you haven't identified the lowest common multiple correctly, but you're still looking for it, which is 100% more beneficial than just going to that biggest number straight away. So the big takeaway from this lesson is we want you to be lazy. We want you to do less work and less effort just so you can get 100% of the marks. Just making sure that we're doing less work will be beneficial. Knowing your times tables, knowing how to get to those lowest common multiples quickly is the #1 skill for this lesson. If you can do that, you will save yourself a lot of work. If that is something you need to work on, please take some time in order to get right on top of your times tables, because the rest of your maths life will be much easier. Thanks so much for watching this lesson, and I'll see you later.